right, so, full disclosure, I am not filming this when I thought I'd be filming this. I should have filmed it before I went out of town, but I was like, nah, I'll film it when I get back home on Monday. I'll have plenty of time. It is still Monday. It's later in the evening. I have a cold. It's happening. I don't know when this is getting edited. Hopefully you're seeing this on Tuesday. Maybe you're seeing this on Wednesday. It's not like the algorithm likes me right now anyways, and I'm doing it for the love of the game. But Hugos were just due, and I did manage to at least fill out my Hugo Ballot before I went out of town. Not like as strong as like other years I filled it out, but I think it represents how I feel. I voted for the categories that were most important to me, and I tried to vote for other categories with the amount of time I had. Teaching was just insane this summer. Like, for context, usually only teach 2 to 3 classes in the summer. I taught 5. So, like, time was just not my friend. So, let's start. We'll start at the Astounding Award, not a Hugo. Move our way up. The Astounding Award is for Best New Writer. Because I actually do have opinions about this one more than normal. And so you get 2 years of eligibility. And so I guess for voting, it's a ranked voting system. So you're ranked 1 through 7 because there's 6 nominees and then there's the no award slot. So you can rank no award if you feel truly like, okay, if nothing else I voted for made it, I don't think anything's deserving of an award. So if you have like that opinion. Why am I bringing that up? Because that does apply for me in this category and like only this category because of one of the authors. Because in my opinion, this is meant to be, especially because they include short fiction as part of this, it is meant to be, you are new to being published as a writer. You don't have the connections, you don't have the editors, you don't have the agents, you've never been published before in short form or long form. And one of the authors is Antonia Hodgkins, and yes, it's her first time being published in science fiction and fantasy, but she's been published before. This is not her debut. So I don't think she should have been eligible for this. I don't mind her work being nominated, which was nominated for, Best Hugo. But her as an Astounding, I just categorically disagree with. So she was my rank 7. No award, rank 6. No award, never wins a category, though. So this is just me being, pity. I'm just being, small and pitiful. The rest, I don't know Sophie Burnham, I don't think, so I put her at 5th. Camilla Cole, I vaguely know, I put at 4. The top 3 I actually know, I did Jared Pachesek. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, I'm sorry. I need to look up how to do the C with the accent thing. He wrote The West Passage, which I still haven't read, but I've read the first 50 pages of. I put Molly O'Neill, who did Green Teeth and a new work this year, at number 2. And my number 1, as I'm sure if you've been following any of my coverage, is unsurprising, is H.H. Pak. 2nd year of eligibility. I love their novelette. Okay? So that's the Astounding. I am very uninteresting for the Lodestar. I have read none of these. I know very little. I think, yes, I ranked only 1, because I wanted to still, vote for the category, because voting for the category is important for the existence of the category, although I'm always on the fence on if Hugo voters even make sense as a body voting for young adult, because we're just not well read in it as a body of people, but I don't think that's a good enough reason to get rid of a category. So I voted just for 1, and I voted for Tracy Dion's Oathbound, because it's generally been a loved series by a lot of people I know. I don't know. But I didn't vote for Sunrise on the Reaping or anything else. I know so little. And I didn't have time to learn more. Next up, we got Best Poem. I did read these. I don't understand poetry. I tried. I voted for the 2 I disliked reading the least. Honestly, the one I ranked 1 is kind of trite. But it had a basic rhyming scheme. It kind of had a story in it, so I went with it, and that was Hex Supply Customer Support Log. Yeah, and I've actually had to be on hold recently on a phone, so it spoke to me. But it's a little corny, I feel. And then number 2, I put Care for Lightning. which I do think requires you to understand Greek myths to really get, which is also some of my issues with other poems. There were other ones like I didn't, I guess, dislike, but like I didn't feel strongly enough to vote for them. I didn't do best fan artist. I did last time, but this time I just like didn't have time to go through it all. Like I kind of wish sometimes in the packet they would just give me like one file where I could just like scroll through all the art, because even just like opening every single PDF, because some of the PDFs are so large, and sometimes they don't even send you a PDF. Sometimes it's an EPUB and you have to figure out how to open it because it's not always an EPUB that Adobe will open. And that's on me. Again, didn't have time. So this year I didn't get to vote for best fan artist, and honestly that's the category that made me the most bummed that I didn't vote for. I don't know anything about best fan writer, and someone will need to actually convince me one day what's going on here. Like, what is this happening? Like, it's not happening with me and other people like me in the fandom. So, like, it's for a niche part of the fandom. But, like, I don't know what this is. Next up, fan cast. I just get annoyed that it's always a podcast. Just call it best podcast. But for that reason, I don't listen to any of these, so I just didn't vote for it. Because YouTubers will never be represented. I think last time it was Colonnati. So... And, you know, I wanted Stitch and Bitch to be there, and they weren't. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being pitiful. And best fanzine, I just didn't have enough time to look into it this time around, and I don't really know what a fanzine is. But I did vote for best prozine. I didn't do any no award or anything, but I only ranked 3. So number 1 was Choreo. I love Choreo's project. It's translated works. I just really love them. And then I did Strange Horizons, which does an emphasis on trying to highlight newer voices, which I think is really important, especially because it's really attractive for a lot of magazines to do like popular authors that are tried and true. Like people are more likely to pay to read a Niveau story, which is reasonable, although Niveau is way better at their like medium novella length fiction than their short fiction, in my opinion. But like, it's just like nice to have a space for people to practice their craft and be rewarded and seen and stuff. And then I liked some of the stories I read from Escape Pod. And, you know, Valerie Valdez is an editor and I like her. I did not rank Uncanny Magazine because I'm done with them winning. They're going to win. That's not even a question. But I'm over it. I think it's their last year of eligibility, but I was still just like, eh. And like, I haven't read On Spec or The Deadlands, so... Oh, I just closed my window. Come back. Okay, I did vote for Best Professional Artist because it was just like a little easier to go through. I'll tell you what I ranked. I'm not going to have the time to edit in the art. I mean, all the art was kind of cool. I think there was like one person I left unranked because I didn't have an opinion, and another person didn't submit something to the packet, and I just didn't have the time before leaving for my trip because I was literally finishing up voting like an hour before we drove on a vacation this weekend, which again is my bad, but again, life is happening. So I did, my best is a strong phrase, but I did more than the bare minimum, is what I'll say. So I put Tom Roberts as 1, Trans Ewan as 2, and I put Kelly Chong as 3, and John Picacio as 4. All their works are just pretty. Like, I'm just happy real artists get recognition. Like, you know, not that fan artists aren't real. I just meant more like these people are being paid to do art, and it makes me happy instead of, you know, generative AI and all that. All right, editors. So for best long form, I actually did rank all of them because I read a fair bit, so I actually like recognize the books. Number 6, I did Lee Harris. She's generally an editor I actually really like. I just feel like she's actually been recognized quite a bit, and the slate just wasn't as strong this year. And also she did work on a novelette I did not like, so might have soured my opinion, even though it shouldn't have, but I'm like really annoyed by a novelette we'll talk about later. Diana M. Pha, I put it 5th. Jamie Go, I put it 4. I can't remember why, like there were just books I looked at. I think the only one I have a strong opinion of, so like Jenny Hill, I put it 3, Carl Engel Laird, I put it 2, and Joe Monty, I put it 1. And that's because he's an editor at Saga Press who is editing a lot of some of my favorite works at Saga Press. Like, he is the editor for Stephen Graham Jones, who should have had a book in the Hugos, in my opinion. I think he was also an editor for Sunward, which I read recently and also thought should have been maybe on the shortlist for the Hugos. So in lieu of those books being underrepresented, I really wanted to vote for him because I really liked the works he's been highlighting and working on over there. But I mean, all these people, like, I looked at their slates, I'm like, I'm generally really happy. There's a lot of diversity in the selections that these people are pulling from. A lot of books I really like. Short form, I have less opinions, but I think I went with Michael Damian Thomas for one. I can't remember why. I think presumably on his list there was a short work I'd read, and I'm like, cool, because I was trying really hard not to put Neil Clark as one, even though, like, truly, Neil Clark's my favorite at the moment. And it's like, he's always recognized because he has an ability to not only curate from, I think, up-and-coming short fiction people, but also popular people. Like, it's just really good. I think it was because, I know why Michael Damian Thomas I picked, because although I didn't vote for Uncanny, he was an editor on a lot of my favorite Uncanny stories. Like, I think he was an editor for the Catherine M. Valente and stuff like that. That was why. See, the memories, it's coming. And then Scott H. Andrews, I think he worked for Escape Pods. I could be wrong, but there were other stories that I had read. And I was like, cool. Other ones I hadn't read their works. Okay, I think from here on out, I'm going to have stronger opinions, like, and less, like, fuzzy memories, because those were the categories I was like, I should have done more research before voting. Best game or interactive work. Yeah, I voted for 5 of them. I put 5 as Hollow Knight for Ryan, because Ryan loves Hollow Knight. I've never played it. I also don't think it has a particularly strong story, just based off me being around it. Number 4, I put as Blueprints, which I think is really fun gameplay, and it's a really fun way of telling a story, but there is and you can mitigate some of this, but there's a bit of RNG to how the story unfolds that's a little annoying. Hades 2, I put at 3. I mean, the Hades engine is just amazing and fun. Number 2 is Dispatch. I mean, Ryan had played it twice. I've played it once. We had so much fun playing the game and the story. It was just a really good week in our life. But number 1, and obviously, if you know me, if you've been watching the channel, like, this is like I am in a video game hangover because of this game, and this is Expedition 33. I frequently want to be able to play Expedition 33 for the first time again. Like, frequently. And it's because the combination of story that I found engaging, and I was asking questions, and I was thinking of answers, and then the answers were compelling, and then the ending just makes you think of so many things, but then also paired with the gameplay, which I also adore and works really well for me. Like a turn-based RPG, but with some rhythm mechanics. Works so well for me and who I am. So yeah, that's easily my number 1. I think it's very deserving on all fronts. TV shows, I actually, here's the thing. I actually watched 4 of the things that were nominated, but I only voted for 1 of them because I really didn't like the other ones that much. I hadn't watched Wheel of Time and I hadn't watched the newest Doctor Who stuff, so I didn't vote for them. I like Severance a lot, so I voted for the Severance episode. I don't like Pluribus that much. I just don't. So I didn't vote for that episode. And I like Murderbot, but I'm just like, I don't remember these specific episodes. Like, Murderbot was a fun show. It wasn't a memorable, award-worthy show for me. And I'm sure it'll do just fine without me, based off just the number of Murderbot nominees that Hugo voters want to shove in my face. It's good. It's just not that good. It's And wait till the Dungeon Crawler Carl people end up over here. Not that I dislike you guys. It's just like when people love something, it's like everyone's a Cubs fan and they're voting and Dancing with the Stars and doing weird things. There was a season of Dancing with the Stars I cared about, and the Cubs catcher kept winning and he shouldn't have, and I was just like, I get it's a popularity contest, but I was looking at the dancing. That was a tangent. Long form. I actually voted for everything in the long form because I actually watched everything. Yes, I did. And I didn't have to watch it before this. I just knew these things. 6, Mickey 17. It's good. It's not great, but there is some really funny acting in it that I still think about. Frankenstein, I put 5. I thought it was good. I think it was great. It was mostly pretty. 4, K-pop Demon Hunters, I enjoyed. Definitely a cultural moment. Superman is number 3 for me because I adore Superman. I adore Cleveland. it was very fun for me. Do I think it's the best superhero movie that I've ever seen in my life? No, but I really enjoyed it. Number 2, Andor Season 2. Andor Season 2 is really good. And then number 1 is Sinners. Because Sinners is one of the best movies that's ever been created and is such a quality film. It does that thing I love in books all the time where you can have something that's campy and is unapologetically playing with tropes that people love. If you love silly vampire movies, you will love Sinners. But if you also love discussions about music and generational trauma and trying to find joy, it's so good. Anyway, Sinners, easily my number 1. We'll see if it does well. I have no idea what's actually going to win. I'm hoping Sinners, but who knows. All right, and then for best related work, I only voted for the Hugo spreadsheet of doom because Renee's spreadsheet's the best spreadsheet. And I hadn't had a chance to look at anything else, so yeah, that's what I did. Next up, best graphic story or comic. I just wanted the category to keep existing. And honestly, kind of what I did here, at least, it's kind of basic. But I voted for a DC comic because I like DC comics. So I voted for the Absolute Wonder Woman Volume 1. I really don't think it's going to win. But I mainly did that, and I didn't vote for many of the other ones because, I didn't know anything about the other ones. At least I know the IP Wonder Woman. But then there was just, graphic novels that are here because, it's Ursula K. Le Guin, or it's Leigh Bardugo, or it's Nnedi Okorafor, and I don't know. That just, I don't know. Someone who knows comics will have to tell me if, truly that's what it should be, but it just feels like Hugo Darlings or, popular book authors who happen to also be dabbling in the comic space, and so they're here. And I don't know. Didn't vibe with that, personally. Best series, I put October Day for number 1, because I want the Shauna Maguire girls to have it. Also, so I can just stop seeing it. I don't want to see it anymore. So please, let them win. Let them have it. They deserve it. And then I put Emily Wilde as number 2, and I have no opinions about any of these other series. This series list is the most disappointing shortlist to me as a series reader who reads up-to-date series. It is sad. Next up, short story. This was hard because I've read all of these. I actually wonder, I think I read all of these even before the shortlist was out. So I've had thoughts on these for a minute. 6 for me, Laser Eyes Ain't Everything, which I think won the Nebula. I have no issue with the message. I have issues with the execution. It just feels very after school special to me, but I definitely see how it could be cathartic to many readers. Number 5, I put Wire Mother by Isabel J. Kim. I love some of her short works. This one I didn't mind, but it frequently leaves my brain. It just doesn't have the longevity for me. It's about a young woman and her relationship with a virtual mother who can, people can, have implants and, have their bodies temporarily be used by these virtual, sapient entities. And, this is something that, her father created, and the daughter just, I don't know, they have a bad relationship for reasons, and it just develops that. And it's a little disturbing. And like I said, it doesn't really stick with me like some of the others, but it's not bad. All of these were actually very good for me, except for Laser Eyes Ain't Everything. Number 4, Missing Helen. Number 4, Missing Helen. I really like Missing Helen. This is about a clone of someone. You can sell clones of yourself, and it's about, because the nature versus nurture thing. It's okay, you're my clone. You also dated a person I used to be with. How were things the same? How were things different? Because you are a person that doesn't have my emotional baggage and stuff like that. It was very cool. Number 3 is 6 People to Revise You. I thought that was really interesting because it's about a process where you want to be changed and you have to get the input of these 6 different people with different roles in your life. And it's really at its core about accepting who you are and not wanting to be changed. Number 2, I ended up, this was tough. 1 and 2 were really tough for me. I made number 2 10 Visions of the Future or Self-Care for the End of Days. I really actually adore that story. I actually shared that with stories with real life friends. But I will say I have to... You hear that? What was that? I don't know where I got cut off because a really loud sound just happened. And I have no idea what it was. But, I basically couldn't not put number 1 is In My Country by Thomas Ha, because Thomas Ha has been such like an impactful author for me this year. And I find the messaging of In My Country to really like encapsulate a lot of the best of the thematic work he can bring together. So that's what I did for best short story. Truly, I'd be really happy with any of my 4-1 winning. I really would. 5, I don't mind that much. 6, I'd be disappointed. And then Novelette. Woof, woof, woof. Novelette. Actually, I lied. I did do a no award for this one because I have opinions. Like, I get it. People don't read novelettes. I get it. You don't have to just nominate a novelette just because you read the novelette. You should think if it's good. You should think. Like, I read more novelettes than I nominated. This is an opinion I have. The Murderbot novelette is not good. It is not good. It's not good in the context of the Murderbot world, and it sucks because you really actually need that context for it to even emotionally mean anything to you. And also, it doesn't do anything. It's a nothing burger. It does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. It's literally like an extra behind-the-scenes scenes on a DVD you'd buy of your favorite movie. Like, and that's not a Hugo novelette. Oh my, and I read so many good novelettes. That's the extra frustration. It's not like, oh, it was a rough year, so I see why this happened. No, people just don't read novelettes and they love Murderbot. So that's my number 7, followed by No Award at 6, because it angers me, and I'm petty. Probably should have just left it unranked, but it felt more petty to make it 7. I put The Malay Illusion by Sarah Pinsker at 5 because I found it to be kind of weak, especially for Sarah Pinsker. Just felt like it was there because it was Sarah Pinsker. So, I put The Kaiju Agonists at number 4 by Scott Lynch. It was fine. Nothing great. I think 3 and up I actually do enjoy. The Girl That My Mother Is Leaving Me For. This was nice. It was actually a very cohesive story. It was very action-packed for a novelette, which can be hard to do without feeling too much whiplash in the space. It was well done, a well-created world. I really did enjoy that one. When He Calls Your Name, Catherine M. Valente, really enjoyed that one. It's a really great, I don't know if it's a Southern Gothic, maybe Appalachian horror, summer's tale. It's very good. Got some vampirism in it, so yeah. And then my number 1, Never Eaten Vegetables by H.H. Pak. If this one doesn't win, I just will be so sad because it's like not even close how much the best that one is, in my opinion. It's so good. Anyways, novella. I voted for the 3 that I read, but I'm not like, it was like I could have just put them all at the same ranking. I didn't care. I put What Stalks the Deep as 3, because I think about it the least. I put The River Has Roots as 2, because I'm tired of seeing it win, because it bores me. And I put Automatic Noodle at 1, but it's not like I gave all of these things like 4 stars. I don't care. I'm not a novella person. I don't know if there were better novellas, but that's what I got. Now, novel was really hard, and probably the reason you even clicked on this video. I tried really hard because my enjoyment ranking, like if I just voted for these based off how much I like them, it didn't feel like it aligned with how I view awards. Like, I do feel like for me, and everyone votes for these with their own rubric. That's like what's super fun. Everyone has their own rubric for how they vote. There's not a consistent rubric we're all supposed to be using. And so I was doing things based off enjoyment. And actually, do I still have my little note sheet where I kept track of things? Yes, I did enjoyment, quality of theme execution, representation of the genre, like the time period we're in, genre tropes, like is it a speculative work, you know? And then just the overall craft of it all. And I basically rated each book, you know, out of 5 on that scale, averaged it, and let those numbers tell me what to do. So enjoyment, you know, a quarter of this is still based off how I read that, and there's going to be correlation between my enjoyment and how I think it does with crafts and themes and stuff like that. But I actually think it was quite helpful to do it that way, and I didn't dislike what it gave me. So for example, A Drop of Corruption, I gave 4.5 stars when I finished it. I think when I did this, I gave it 4 because it didn't like stick with me that long. But it's ranked 6 for me here. I don't think right now. We need to keep talking about murder mystery and speculative. Like, we represented that last year. I don't think this is one of those sequels where it's like, you know, the Broken Earth trilogy. I didn't even really like A Desolation Called Peace winning a Hugo. So for me, this was a good book. It's a good follow-up. I don't think it's a Hugo book. So I don't think its themes are really well done at all. Like, I think it's enjoyable. I think it's interesting eco-fiction with mystery qualities, but we already highlighted that last year. And I think it's like a fairly well-written story, but the themes really let me down, especially for an award. I kind of want my themes to be stronger, or at least more consistent. And it kind of feels like he's playing with political themes without doing his political nonfiction homework. A little bit. I mean, obviously, once I finish, well, I don't know if it's a trilogy or not, but as I continue, maybe things will develop, because we do have unreliable perspectives and narrators. But even with all that, he doesn't need to win 2 years in a row, in my opinion. Number 5 ended up being The Raven Scholar. I just had a bit more enjoyment for this. I think its themes were just like a tiny bit better, but honestly, they were neck and neck. I think really what landed it above it is it just that I don't want the sequel to win. So, The Raven Scholar's here. Death of the Author. That's another one where it's like, I rate that a 4.5. Like, Raven Scholar, I rate a 4. Drop of Corruption, a 4. Death of the Author, 4.5. But it's not really a strong science fiction work. It is a science fiction work, but that's, like, not its strength, if that makes sense. To me, at least. Like, I really appreciate how sci-fi is incorporated into it, but, like, that's very much, like, a B plot to me. So I really enjoyed it. I think it's pretty well done. I think the themes get a little messy, especially with the story within a story and that framing that she attempts to try. So that ended up at 4 for me. And so here's, like, probably where things got kind of weird. But, like, I think this is why I kind of liked what I did. Is, like, I put Shroud at 3. I don't like Shroud. I like Shroud. I don't love Shroud. The reading experience of Shroud grated on me. It was a 3.5 star experience. But it's the only science fiction book on this list. Period. End of story. And so I really appreciated that it was science fiction. It's world building. It's there. There's really good world building. Themes, not that good. They're not that good. They're very, like, corporations, capitalism. Look at them not realizing that they're sentient life. It's like, Shroud would be a great movie. Okay? Be a fantastic movie. Less so a book. So I ended up at 3, which meant that my number 2 ended up being The Everlasting, which quite surprised me, but its thematic work was quite strong, and it definitely was representing the genre that year, because, gosh, between this and The Isle of the Silver Sea, and another book, we were all about lady knights last year. We were all about it. We loved knights. We loved the theme of how stories shape a nation. So, like, in terms of relevance, it was pretty good. And like, I don't love Alex E. Harrell works, but it's like the opposite problem of a Tchaikovsky. Like, Tchaikovsky, I think, is overwritten. Alex E. Harrell, I don't always love her works, but she's tight. She gets in, she gets out, she says what she wants to say. And then, you know, I didn't plan this. I honestly did this also because it's like, I wasn't sure. Like, I don't necessarily think this book should win, but it's just like, I gotta speak my truth. And, like, The Incandescent is, like, the 5-star read for me. And I do like the themes of burnt outness and community and biting off more than you can chew. I think the craft is exceptional. I read it, like, in 2 days on a very busy vacation because all I wanted to do was devour it. And, I mean, it's a fantasy book, so, like, I had no issues there. So it just ended up being my number 1. It's not as strong as Some Desperate Glory, so I don't think it's as deserving as that book. But, like, I struggle with this whole list. I think I really enjoyed reading a lot of these books, but I know, like, Slow Gods would easily have been my Hugo winner, and I did nominate it. Sunward, I even think, is stronger that I read recently. They're just more interesting works, and I think what ended up happening, this is a prediction, is that these are all solid works. These are all authors who have written works before. Even you, Antonia Hodgson, or, yes, Hodgson. But that means that in a world where editors are being overworked, the landscape's very much changing, people aren't getting the care they usually get for novels, we're turning everything into a make money fast machine, these are people who have been doing it for a long time. They can make a quality book. All of these are quality books. And I think that's something people are craving as they're picking up new releases everywhere. They want to win. And I think this list represents that. It's just also not very inspired. It's not very curious. It's not very creative. Like if we look at diversity, Nnedi Okorafor. That's it. That's the diversity. So, but that's this video. I'm not mad about it. I'm curious to see where things land. And I'm going to get back to reading for other awards. Let me know any thoughts you have. Let me know what you might have voted for if you were voting. Reminder that if you do want to vote in the future, you have to make sure you keep an eye out on when to, vote to be able to nominate. If you want to nominate next year, keep an eye out like early January. It'll cost at minimum $50, but then you do get a huge packet of works. And people who've been doing it for the first time in my Discord have been having a lot of fun. And the more voices we have in it, the more it'll represent our taste, right? And if you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave a rocket ship, because that's the classic. And otherwise, like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.